Anabolic steroids, the OG muscle builders. Let's kick things off with the substances everyone thinks of when they hear bodybuilding drugs. Anabolic steroids. These are the granddaddies of muscle-building compounds, and they're all completely banned. Testosterone is the blueprint. It's the male hormone that tells your body to build muscle and become more masculine. When bodybuilders inject synthetic testosterone, they're flooding their system with 10 to 100 times the normal amount. A natural bodybuilder might gain 10 to 15 pounds of muscle in a year of perfect training. Someone on testosterone can gain that in a few months. But testosterone is just the beginning. Trenbolone, originally developed for cattle, is considered one of the most powerful anabolic steroids ever created. It's roughly 5 times more anabolic than testosterone. Fun fact, it was literally designed to beef up cows before slaughter, and bodybuilders thought, yeah, that sounds perfect for me. Nandrolone, sold as decadurabolin, became legendary for adding mass, while being slightly easier on side effects. Stanozolol, known as Winstrol, gained fame when sprinter Ben Johnson tested positive for it at the 1988 Olympics. Then there's Dianabol, the breakfast of champions according to old-school bodybuilding lore. Arnold's generation used this stuff like candy. It was developed in the 1950s specifically to help American athletes compete against Soviet weightlifters. The Cold War was literally fought with steroids. All of these compounds carry mandatory bans ranging from 2 to 10 years. Prohormones, steroids in disguise. Prohormones are compounds that aren't technically steroids themselves, but they convert into steroids once inside your body. It's like smuggling in the ingredients to build a bomb instead of bringing the actual bomb. Androstenedione became famous when Mark McGuire admitted to using it during his record-breaking home run season. At the time, it was sold over the counter in supplement stores. DHEA is another prohormone that was once legal. These days, both are banned because they raise testosterone levels above natural ranges. The prohormone market was massive in the early 2000s. Companies created dozens of compounds with names like Superdrol, Paladrol, and M1T, marketed as legal alternatives to steroids. SARMs, the new kids on the block. Selective androgen receptor modulators, or SARMs, are the compounds flooding the internet right now. These were developed to treat muscle-wasting diseases. The idea was brilliant. Create a drug that builds muscle like steroids but without affecting your prostate, hair follicles, or other tissues. Ostarine, also called MK2866, is probably the most popular SARM. It's been in development for over 2 decades but never received FDA approval. That hasn't stopped underground labs from manufacturing it and selling it online as a research chemical. Ligandrol, or LGD4033, is another heavy hitter. Australian rugby player Jared Schulz received a 4-year ban for testing positive for ligandrol. RAD140 is marketed as one of the most potent SARMs available. Online forums are filled with guys claiming they gained 15 pounds of muscle in 8 weeks. What they don't document as thoroughly are the suppressed testosterone levels, liver stress, and need for post-cycle therapy. Here's the wild part. SARMs are banned for 5 years under most natural bodybuilding federations. Testing positive for Ostarine in 2025 means you can't compete until 2030. And let's talk about quality control. Studies analyzing SARMs sold online found that 33% were completely mislabeled. Some contained different SARMs than advertised. Others contained actual steroids. You're literally playing Russian roulette with mystery chemicals. Growth hormone, the fountain of youth. Human growth hormone, or HGH, is the stuff of legend in bodybuilding. It's what allegedly keeps Hollywood stars looking young, while building jaw-dropping physiques in their 40s and 50s. And it's completely banned. Bodybuilders inject synthetic growth hormone to amplify effects far beyond natural levels. Growth hormone helps you build muscle, burn fat, recover faster, and supposedly gives you that 3D look where muscles appear fuller and more separated. The problem? It costs thousands of dollars per month, and it can cause your organs to grow along with your muscles. That's why modern bodybuilders sometimes have distended stomachs despite being incredibly lean. Their intestines have literally grown. IGF-1 and insulin, the dangerous duo. Insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1, is what growth hormone converts into in your liver. Some bodybuilders skip the middleman and inject IGF-1 directly. Then there's insulin itself. This is where bodybuilding gets genuinely dangerous. Insulin helps shuttle nutrients into cells, and some advanced bodybuilders inject it to force more amino acids and glucose into muscle tissue, It's banned, it's dangerous, and it's killed people. Miscalculate your dose or carbohydrate intake, and your blood sugar crashes. Severe hypoglycemia can cause seizures, loss of consciousness, brain damage, and death. Professional bodybuilders who use insulin keep candy within arm's reach at all times. Clenbuterol, not actually a steroid. Clenbuterol is not a steroid, but everyone groups it with steroids because bodybuilders use it constantly during cutting phases. It's actually a beta-2 agonist originally designed as a bronchodilator for horses with breathing problems. Clenbuterol became famous for its ability to burn fat while preserving muscle. It increases your metabolic rate and has anti-catabolic properties. The problem is, it also increases heart rate, causes tremors, gives you insomnia, and can potentially cause cardiac hypertrophy with long-term use. Mexican cattle ranchers sometimes use clenbuterol illegally to create leaner beef. This has led to athletes testing positive after eating contaminated meat in Mexico. Alberto Contador, the cyclist, famously blamed his positive test on contaminated steak. Aromatase inhibitors and SARMs, the supporting cast. Aromatase inhibitors don't build muscle directly, but they're banned because they help bodybuilders maintain higher testosterone levels. Your body naturally converts some testosterone into estrogen through an enzyme called aromatase. Drugs like Arimidex and letrozole block this conversion. When bodybuilders inject massive doses of testosterone, a significant portion converts to estrogen, causing side effects like gynecomastia, breast tissue development in men. Taking aromatase inhibitors prevents this conversion. Selective estrogen receptor modulators, or SARMs, include drugs like Nolvadex and Clomid. These are banned because bodybuilders use them after finishing steroid cycles to restart natural testosterone production. When you inject testosterone, your body's natural production shuts down. When you stop the steroids, you crash hard. SARMs trick your body into thinking estrogen levels are low, which signals your pituitary gland to produce hormones that stimulate testosterone production. They're banned with a 5-year suspension because using them indicates you've been running steroids. Diuretics, the dangerous final touch. Diuretics are banned for 2 reasons. First, they're used to shed water weight in the final days before competition, creating that paper-thin skin look. Second, they can be used to dilute urine samples and mask other banned substances. Bodybuilders have died from diuretic abuse. Andreas Munzer, a professional bodybuilder famous for his extreme conditioning, died in 1996 from organ failure, partly attributed to diuretic use. He reportedly had 0% body fat at autopsy. Lasix, or furosemide, is the most commonly abused diuretic in bodybuilding. It makes you urinate constantly, pulling water from your tissues. The risk is that you also lose essential electrolytes like potassium, which can cause fatal cardiac arrhythmias. Stimulants, pre-workout on steroids. While regular caffeine is fine, high-powered stimulants are banned during competition. These include compounds like DMAA, which was in the original JAK3D pre-workout formula, and various amphetamine derivatives that show up in fat burners. Ephedra was legal in supplements until 2004, when it was banned by the FDA after being linked to heart attacks and strokes. Bodybuilders loved it because it suppressed appetite, increased energy, and enhanced fat loss. DMAA became the replacement stimulant in pre-workouts after ephedra was banned. The FDA cracked down on it too. Companies keep creating new stimulants with similar effects but slightly different molecular structures, playing a cat-and-mouse game with regulators. If you test positive for these stimulants outside of competition, you're fine. They're only banned during the actual competition period. Peptides, the gray area. Peptides like BPC 157, TB500, and various growth hormone secretagogues exist in this weird gray area. They're banned by WADA and sports organizations, but they're prescribed by anti-aging clinics and sold by compounding pharmacies. BPC 157 is marketed as healing damaged tendons and ligaments at superhuman speeds. Growth hormone secretagogues like ipamorelin and CJC 1295 stimulate your body to produce more growth hormone naturally. The problem is that scientific evidence for these peptides is mostly from animal studies or anecdotal reports from bodybuilding forums. You're essentially experimenting on yourself with compounds that haven't been fully tested in humans. They're all banned, with testing positive, resulting in a 4-year ban. The supplement contamination nightmare. Here's the really scary part. You don't even have to knowingly take banned substances to test positive. Supplement contamination is a massive problem that's ended countless careers. And studies have found that up to 20% of supplements contain banned substances not listed on the label. This happens through intentional spiking or accidental cross-contamination during manufacturing. Some companies deliberately spike their products to make them more effective. A pre-workout advertised as natural might contain DMAA or other banned stimulants. A testosterone booster might actually contain prohormones. Third-party testing organizations like SF Certify for Sport and Informed Sport exist to help athletes, but even they're not foolproof. The only truly safe approach is to minimize what you take. Many natural bodybuilders stick to basic protein powder, creatine, and whole foods specifically to avoid this nightmare. Every major bodybuilding organization has comprehensive banned substance lists that are updated annually. For competitive, natural bodybuilders, ignorance isn't a defense. You're responsible for everything in your body. Testing positive ends your career for years, strips titles you've won, and destroys your reputation. The choice between enhanced and natural bodybuilding is personal, but it needs to be informed. Understanding what's banned, why it's banned, and the consequences is essential for anyone serious about the sport. The human body is capable of incredible transformations without chemical enhancement. It just takes patience, consistency, and a willingness to accept a slower but sustainable path to progress.